Welcome, everyone, to the Apprentice Journals. I am your host, Al Edie, and on this show, we help adults and young adolescents navigate through their Christian walk, life, and careers. On today's show, I will be interviewing Seleka Kerr. We're going to be talking about real estate and her new TV show. You all stay tuned. I hope you enjoy. Hello, everyone. This is the Apprentice Journals, and my name is Al Edie. I am your host. I am here with Seleka Kerr, and she is a real estate agent. Also, she has her own TV show, which we will talk about later on in the episode. But I want to let you all know that this show is dedicated to the young adults, all the teenagers, and the many Christians that are out there trying to find their place in the business world, as well as exercising their faith in the business world. So let's get things started. Seleka, how are you doing today?
Good, sir. How are you?
I'm pretty well.
Thank you for having me.
I'm glad that you're here. Really am. So let's take it all the way back.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's speak to the people. How are things growing up in your home?
Overall, I would say I had a great childhood, into young adulthood.
Okay.
A lot of things you don't appreciate when you're growing up, that you get older and you look back and you say to yourself, oh, that's why my mom, said or did, whatever. And it benefits you later. Doesn't always benefit you in the moment necessarily.
Yes. Was it both parents or just your mom?
My parents divorced when I was about 5.
Okay.
And so my mother became my primary caregiver.
All right. Did that have any type of impact on your life in the long run that you see now looking back?
You know what? I used to think it had a significant impact, and you go through a stage where you're angry, because there is a significant difference to having a father in the home. But what I realized is that anything that God intended for me to have, I have. And he brought other people into my life to fill in some of those areas that were missing.
Yes.
And my mother, we just buried her at the beginning of May. She was 95.
Wow.
And a few years prior to that, God had taken me on a journey of reconciliation of my past, with both her and my father, some things that he allowed me to learn about, and there were some family members I had never been exposed to on my dad's side, and I saw where my father grew up and all of that, and so all of that was reconciled prior to her passing.
Okay.
All of the questions I might have had were answered. So I would say, for Christians particularly, trust God's process.
Yes.
Even if you can't see his face, or his hand, trust that he's there and he's got your best interests at heart, and none of these things surprised him.
Yes. Okay. Now, as far as your Christian walk, was it something that was always there when you were younger, or did it kind of come as you got older?
So that's kind of a two-part answer. I got saved when I was 15, but I was raised in church. My father actually was a pastor.
Okay.
And even after he and my mother divorced, we stayed in the same denomination, just went to a different church, and then he moved out of state. So I was always raised in church, so I knew the form and fashion of church. God began to really deal with me directly when I was about 26. I started a journey with him that most people don't experience. So that's why I said it's kind of a two-part answer.
Yes. Okay, we'll come back to that, the next part later. As far as a transition from childhood into high school into adulthood, how was that for you? What was that like?
I don't think it was particularly difficult. I mean, there are things age-wise and stuff that you go through that are really not so different from one generation to the next. But I was raised up in the Northeast. I was raised in New Jersey, and I was raised in a large church denomination. And having had a parent that had been a pastor, you, first of all, that kind of puts you in a certain light, even though he's not there anymore. But also, I had a lot of experience and exposures to different things, and so that really helped to prepare me for transitioning. You know, you do all the Easter show programs or whatever at church, or you sing in the choir, or I served in a youth ministry, so I was exposed to a lot of things. So as I got to be an adult and you're put in positions of leadership or situations that require you know and understand certain things, some of those exposures helped me a great deal.
All right. Was college in the picture for you, or
Yeah.
did you not know yet in high school?
My mother told me I had two options, college or the military.
Gotcha.
So I didn't like that everybody in the military was wearing the same thing.
Understood.
So I didn't want to rappel off buildings or any of that, so I went to college.
Okay.
But education was a big thing in my family. My mother was a teacher.
Oh, okay.
And my father, had his master's degree. And so for two black people in the era that they came from, for both of them to have dual degrees, like education was highly stressed.
Understood. Yeah. So, you said that your career, did you know in college right away, oh, I want to do this? Or did it take some searching, or even did your major in college, was that something that you're doing now?
No. So my major in college started off as business because it sounded good. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Everybody in my family taught, and I refused to be a teacher. So, and then I became a teacher. So, because it was not just a job everybody had, it's really a calling that's in my family. And I did do a season of that. But in college, I ended up majoring in international relations, which you study policy, you study government, internationally, not just the United States, and you study history and economics. And so that helped me lifelong, really. And I also did a semester at the University of Costa Rica. So where I lived there, immersed in the language, lived with a family that didn't speak English. I had studied Spanish for many years, but never conversational. And so that was something else that was a great benefit because it gives you a global view.
Yes.
And helps you to understand that there's so much more going on outside of our country. It also gives you an appreciation for what we do have here versus what people have in other countries. So the education piece was important, but the major, I would say that what academically I received in college was the understanding. It used to be they really taught you how to think, and now they're teaching kids what to think. So that's, and in my household, I had a parent that demanded, how to think. She was a mathematician, right? So that's a thinking man's, it's a thinking man's domain. And so, and math forces you to think about things forwards, backwards, upwards, down. Like there's so many ways that a formula can be worked, essentially. There's a lot of ways to get to the number 6, right? Addition, subtraction, division, multiplication, so that was the most beneficial part.
Okay. All right. Any struggles as a young adult that you had?
I did. I mean, in the very typical one of trying to figure out who you are and what you're going to do, right? I mean, I was raised by, my mother has a very strong work ethic, so does my father. And he was, even though he was a pastor, he was somewhat entrepreneurial. He reminds me of Bishop in that they had organizations outside the church that were all dealing with the needs of the day, to impact the culture.
Yes.
And so he created organizations and he did things on his own that were independent of the ministry itself, but were still rooted in the understanding of that there's an intersection between government and community and church.
Yes.
And so the two sides of them was really so much of what ended up coming out of me, in the end.
And what was that process like of working through?
Failure. You experience it, and so you have to process failure the correct way.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't process it through I didn't succeed. You have to figure out what was the lesson. And I have definitely seen that God will let you keep going around the same mountain until you realize the problem's not the mountain, the problem's you.
Yeah.
And what it is that He's trying to get you to. And I can tell you in a very concrete way. So I said I didn't want to teach.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was an undergrad and when I was in grad school, I had different professors tell me I should be a teacher. My mother was like, well, you should really look at teaching. And I was like, no, there are other professions on planet Earth besides this one. Because when I say everybody in my family taught, my mother taught, all her children taught, her nephew taught, his wife taught, even my niece, I have a niece right now, she's a college professor. Everybody taught. We could have opened a school and had all the subject areas covered. Wow. So I wanted to do something different, but it's actually a gift. So I ended up, at one point, God literally closed the door when He moved me to Florida, and I could not get a job.
Wow.
I had 2 degrees. I had already checked the market here, the job market, before I came, and I came with a group of people to help start a church. And I was supposed to come here and be able to make, great money and be able to do blah, 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 blah. And I couldn't find a job as a prostitute. Like, I couldn't find a job doing anything. And so God was trying to teach me several things, and the only door He opened was education. And the first time I even went in as a substitute, I knew I'm supposed to be doing this. And so, but I had to go on that journey of discovery, and I encourage anybody to lean into that.
Mm-hmm. And the failure.
Absolutely.
Embrace.
If you think about when a baby is growing up,
mm-hmm.
they fall down in the process of learning to walk. The muscle has to get strengthened.
Preaching, what do you think?
Yeah.
So, what did you teach when you went into teaching? Was it multiple subjects, or
no.
Was it one in particular that was like?
I ended up being an English teacher.
Okay.
And I started out in the 8th grade, and then I went to 7th grade the following year, and then I became a literacy coach. Mm-hmm. So that's all interrelated, even though universities and stuff, all the way down to the schools, have separated reading and writing. Mm-hmm. They are actually 2 modalities that develop concurrently, so you can't separate them. It's like trying to separate number systems, and computation. Like, you can't. They all go together. And so, middle school, I actually thrived, and I loved the kids. And when people would ask me, what did I teach? And I said middle school, everybody had the same reaction. They were like, ooh, because the kids are in the middle. But I didn't want to be bothered with the little people in elementary school. High school was fine, but I liked team teaching, because I taught on a team. So a group of teachers share children, and that gives you a strength with those kids, as opposed to only teaching your content and you're dealing with them independently. Mm-hmm. So I really enjoyed middle school while I was there.
That's good. I understand what they mean by middle school, because
mm-hmm.
it's a lot happening there. Puberty.
There is a lot happening.
A lot of transitions, the right transitions,
mm-hmm.
but yeah, a lot of transitions happen. Along the journey, I know you're married.
Yes.
And what was that like for you? What was that journey like?
To getting married?
To getting married, was it when you were younger? Was it kind of later on in the game? Or?
This is a conversation my husband and I talk about all the time. Mm-hmm. Because we met as teenagers. Wow. And we did not have parents who encouraged you to get married young. Mm-hmm. So we met at a church conference. He was part of the same denomination that I grew up in, and they had an annual, actually it wasn't annual, it was every 4 years, a quadrennial conference for the entire church. So all over the globe comes to some place.
Yes.
And we met at the University of South Carolina, because that's where the conference was being held, was on that campus. Mm-hmm. And so he was in Texas and I was in New Jersey, and we didn't all this free, long distance and texting and all that. We didn't have any of that. It was stamps and phone bill. And we kept in touch as often as we could till our parents cussed us out. But and this y'all won't even understand at all, depending on the age of the person listening. But like, we had payphones at our high school. So I would take like $2 and call him during homeroom.
So I'm guessing this is the 90s.
This was the 80s.
80s, oh, okay.
So we kept in touch for a while, but then, you know, you kind of go your separate ways. And we reconnected on Facebook years later. And it wasn't even to be romantic or anything. I had never forgotten him, and he had never forgotten me. But he had married and had a family, which didn't surprise me. He's very family oriented. I always knew that about him. What I didn't think is that he would have divorced, and he had divorced. And we reconnected on Facebook, and, you know, so that's how our story started. But even that was a few years after we connected on Facebook. So, and marriage was something I really tried to prepare myself for, because I had been single for so long. So I had done a lot of introspection, and even been part of like one of the churches I had belonged to when I used to live in Denver for a while. They had a singles ministry that also had like a marriage prep kind of a class that single people could take, and it would prepare you for certain things. So the journey of it was an interesting one. And sometimes I talk about how I wish we could have been married longer, gotten married when we were younger.
So you said that both of your parents, they didn't really encourage marriage like that?
They didn't encourage it in terms of doing it young. And he was in Texas and I was in New Jersey. And whereas now you feel like you can touch anywhere in the globe so easily, back then, you just couldn't see how this was going to work out. And you live where you live. And I mean, that's a long distance. He's in a different time zone.
Yes.
So, so neither one of them were like, oh, we'll try to keep it, they were like, you go to college and do what you need to do, and you blah, 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 and whatever. And so that, it was kind of like that.
So the reason I ask is because that narrative is still going now. A lot of parents are saying, oh, go to college, get your money right, stack your,
Right.
What would you say to any young adults that are going through that phase? Well, I kind of want to get married, but my parents, they're saying otherwise.
So you have to be comfortable standing on your own 2 feet, comfortable with the decision, whether your parents support you or not initially. At some point, if you choose to do it, they will come around, because at some point there's gonna be some grandchildren. Like they'll realize, okay, like my child is grown. And there are benefits to marrying young, because had we married younger and been working towards what we're building now, we'd be in a much different place financially and all kinds of things. So that is some benefit to that as well. But I mean, I also say that the life experiences we both had have also helped to make us the people that we are.
Yes.
So I don't necessarily recommend waiting, because you're both going to go through the struggles. Why not go through them together? Why are we?
Yes.
What are you trying to prove? I mean, but there has to be a maturity level there, and an understanding of work ethic and who's going to play what role, because you can't have two people be in charge. Like there's got to be a leader.
Yes.
And that, it's a team. That's how that works.
Okay. And as far as the singlehood, any advice to the young ladies that are out there?
Get out of your own way.
Explain.
So I remember when I was young and, thought I was hot, I had very stupid criteria that were, and when I say stupid, I mean like very superficial.
So you had a list.
Yeah, I had a list. And the problem with the list wasn't the list, it was what was on the list. And as I matured and my relationship with God grew, I understood that money will come, right? So it's not about how much money a person has. Lifestyles will be created. You'll form one together.
Mm-hmm.
No one's is more important than the other. It's whatever you decide for your family together. But what's most important is the character of the person. And that was what I was never able to forget in my husband, was his character.
Yes.
That he had at 17.
Wow.
And then as I met men, as I got older, in my mind, they didn't know it. I was always comparing them to him.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the most important thing, was the character.
Okay. As far as character, what is one that's major?
Honesty.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Now, one of the things on my list was truly that I wanted a man who was not only saved, because they're saved and then they're saved,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes,
So
yes.
they're saved and religious, going through all the motions, right, and the rituals. But then there's saved and in pursuit of God, and willing to yield to God's leading. And everybody's going to be in a different place with that. But if you're dealing with someone who's not willing to do it at all, that will show up in your marriage, and it will cause a lot of conflict and duress.
Understood.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Your business. Let's go to that.
My business.
Yes.
Well, my business exists actually because of my husband.
Let's talk. Talk about it.
So, I was working in education,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a job where I was actually working for the state. So I was working for the state of Florida. They had a grant-funded program, and I was traveling around in a region and going to different schools to help support them. And we were going to schools that were on the list based upon their school grade, so either a D or an F.
Gotcha.
And came out of that, so I was doing that when I got married. And when the grant ended, the job ended, and I went back to my original school district. And I was struggling, and I could not figure out why. Like, I'm working in the thing that I love. I loved literacy, and I was doing the thing, and I was talking to him about it one day, and he said, well, the problem is you're not an office person. And I was like, what? And I thought about that, and he said, you're not a go sit in the office, be there. Like, he said, that's not you.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, so that's the struggle that you're having. And I realized he was right. Like, some people are built for that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. And he, at another point, said to me, you should get your real estate license. And I looked at him like, what is he talking about? But I heard something, like the Bible says, my sheep know my voice,
Yes.
and another they won't follow.
Mm-hmm.
So I recognized that the Holy Spirit was speaking, and I needed to go pray. And I did. And the Holy Spirit was like, yeah, you need to get your real estate license.
Mm-hmm.
And 4 weeks later, I had my license. So I ran, did all the things you have to do to get it. And I thought that was incredible. And then he became a coach for me because he spent years in selling.
Wow.
And so when you sell, you deal in real estate, you are selling.
Yes.
Whether you understand it or not. And he taught me, he was coaching me all the time, just listening to us. I would tell him about my interactions with people, and he would say, oh, that's an objection you have to overcome. And I would think to myself, what is he talking about? Because if I say yes, it's yes. If I say no, it's no.
Mm-hmm.
And people weren't telling me no. They were saying other things. And I didn't realize that's what he was describing as an objection. And they're not just going to come right out and say it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of the things, but he helped me a great deal. And I realized that's part of a husband's covering.
Yes. Yes, that's good. Did you see real estate when you were younger? Like anything that you're doing in real estate, did you see yourself when you're younger doing it?
Never. But one of the reasons he said that to me was because I was looking at houses all the time. I lived on HGTV. I was watching these real estate programs. I was helping people buy houses, figure out what they should buy.
Mm-hmm.
And it never occurred to me to get into real estate. And as I moved around the country, everywhere that I went to go live, everywhere God directed me, I would go look at like the new construction homes. I could tell you in all these different cities what builders were where and what they did. Because they would have all these signs like out on the highway. And that's how I learned my way around. I would find these signs and then you learn the areas that they're in. But I never ever saw myself in real estate.
Wow. That's, wow. God really ordered your steps.
He did.
For sure. Well, let's go to the TV host. So, how did you get into that? Hosting
That's a
your
good
own
question.
show.
Because I wasn't looking for it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I wasn't looking to teach and I wasn't looking to be in real estate either. So, along the way, as my real estate career grew, I understood I needed to expand what I was doing marketing wise.
Okay.
Every year my business was growing, I was making more and more money. And it really wasn't about necessarily making more money. I was selling more every year. And I got to the point that I was doing it full time. And I said, okay, I need some help with marketing. And I didn't like what I saw of realtors on social media because everybody was looking like, pick me, I got this, all these glamorous things, or look at this hot car, or blah, 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 you know, or house, or look at me, and I just thought all of that is disgusting, and I don't want to do that. And so I had been shying away from it, and someone referred me to a company that specialized in marketing for realtors. And I connected with them, and it turned out the gentleman that owned the company was a believer. I didn't know. And they taught me, we worked together for a year, and they taught me everything starting from my POV, you know, so my point of view, and then how to develop content based upon who I am. And so that was eye-opening. So I was running all this content on Instagram, and it was growing followers, and it was getting a lot of views. My friends were teasing me about my tagline, and
what was it, by the way? Or what is it?
If you didn't know, now you know. Because I would always ask, you know, did you know? Is how I always started. And at the end, I would always say, and if you didn't know, now you know. So I was teaching, again,
yes,
but about things of interest, whether they were anything in the Tampa Bay area or that relates to real estate that I felt was important for people to know. From my own experiences, whether it was dealing with buyers, sellers, builders, developers, or things like Tampa was one of the 50 wonders of the world, or the companies that were moving here because of our, you know, of how popular we are, Water Street, like all those things. I was just covering all of them. I even did a thing on yachts, you know, because we sit on the water and nobody talks about the water, they're always talking about the houses.
yes.
But that's the bay sitting out there. So just things that were interesting to me that I thought would be interesting to other people. And earlier this year, this company reached out to me, ADTV, American Dream Television Network.
Yes.
And they said I had been referred to them by somebody, and I thought, what? And so I investigated the opportunity, and that's how that door opened.
And what's the name of the show?
So my show is, I just call it The American Dream, and I say the American Dream is live and well in Tampa Bay, and I feature different aspects of the American Dream.
That's good. And
So
where can we catch it? Like what days?
So I shoot 6 times a year, so it airs every other month, and if you go to, I have a YouTube channel, and of course I don't know it off the top of my head.
It's okay.
If you Google my name, though, my YouTube page comes up. Or if you go to YouTube and put in my name, Seleka Kerr, my page will come up. And I put the episodes there. And I also have a website, selekakerr.com. But it doesn't take you, it's not linked to...
Directly.
Right, right.
But we'll be sure to get all that information for people to see. You know, going back to the family. Did you have any children of your own?
I did not.
Okay. So
I
it's
did
kind
not.
of a, did you have children in general?
No. So my husband has children. So from his prior marriage, he was actually married twice, and he has children from those. But we did not have children together.
Okay. So they didn't kind of grow up with you or anything?
No. And they're all in Texas.
Okay. Okay. At what age did the realtor, you don't have to say the specific age, but at what age group did the realtor thing kind of come along?
Oh, I was in my 40s.
40s, okay.
Mm-hmm. And it's important to know too, especially when you're young, they say that people will have at least 7 job/career changes in their lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't use what they major in school if they go to college for the rest of their life. The Bible says to each one he gave gifts, and my parents came from a generation where people went, got a job, and stayed in there and retired. Our generation shifted more frequently, and your generation is doing it even more. So people have, we have multiple talents, we have multiple gifts. And so but I find too that all the things I've done all dovetail together.
Yes. And the teaching, can't get away from it.
No.
Even before we started the live, you were explaining to one of the people in the back just real estate in general. And I'm like, damn, she's a teacher,
Because I helped him buy a house. Yeah, I helped that young man and his wife buy a house. And we were talking about some things. Because it's a huge commitment. And I'm a 2-time foreclosure survivor.
Mm-hmm.
So I take it very personally. And I want all of my customers, and I keep them all. I don't disappear after the transaction like a lot of realtors do.
Makes sense, yes.
I keep in touch, and I want them all to be successful and thrive and move forward, and I want to see their investment pay them back in great dividends. And so there's a lot to know, so I'm always kind of sharing.
Okay, I like it though. A lot of people need it more than they realize right now.
Correct.
And this is kind of that information age that we're in, so like I'll be scrolling on social media and I'm like, oh, teach, So let's switch gears a little bit.
Okay.
Any advice to the young Seleka?
Honestly, no, I wouldn't do anything differently.
Okay.
I would love to have married my husband sooner, but I still think we got to where we were supposed to.
Okay.
But everything I went through, I needed to go through. You don't really see who you are and what you're capable of without certain struggles.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't fall into anything like, I didn't have any addictions. I didn't do anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I did jack my credit up when I was younger, which a lot of people do. And that also taught me a lot, though.
Let's talk about that. As far as getting yourself out of the credit, or just things to do to stay away from credit.
Well, our system is based upon credit, so it's difficult to stay away from it. You have to know how to navigate it, and it requires a lot of responsibility. My husband and I are reading a book right now called How Heaven Invades Your Finances. And people could look at that title and think that, oh, this is going to tell me how to get rich. Well, no, the first thing it deals with is your soul and how you think. Because what you do with money is a direct correlation to how you think and whatever you feel about yourself. And so if you don't feel good about yourself, you're not going to handle money very well. And poverty is a mindset. And if you have an impoverished mindset, then you're going to make impoverished mindset decisions. Mammon is something that is what credit is based upon. And mammon is a spirit, right? And so people don't even realize anxiety and worry is to mammon what worship is to God. And so you are actually committing a sin to spend all your time in worry when we're taught that God is the owner basically of everything, right? That he's got the cattle on 1,000 hills and all this, that, and the other, right? And the Bible backs that up, but we don't live that out. So it's something that our lips say, but our hearts don't believe. And one of the things that the book deals with is the author, he's a pastor, asks the question, do you believe that God loves you? And that gave us such pause because I can tell you that, right? I mean, I know I can regurgitate it because that's what I've been told all my life. But do I really believe that for myself? Because if you really believe that God loved you, then you would not worry because you would know a father is going to take care of his children. But also, it would shift how you make decisions and keep you from being anxious because doesn't the Bible say that he wouldn't withhold? Right. So that so stepping out into real estate means you work for yourself. And doing that, you have to have something called a tolerance for ambiguity, which means you've got to be able to tolerate the unknown. You don't know when your phone's going to ring, how much it's going to ring, what somebody's going to be looking for, when they reach out to you. And so you have to have an understanding of that. And a lot of that is like walking with God. We can pray, we don't get an answer immediately. We don't know why this is happening or that is happening. We can read the Bible. You've got a certain level of understanding, but you go back and read something else and now it's deeper. So, it's not that things are unclear. It's walking out faith, which is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen.
Yeah.
So it's a challenge, but it requires that you live out these tenets. And we don't understand that God deals with two things a whole lot in the Bible: real estate and money.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Elaborate on that, because a lot of people think that money isn't really talked about in the Bible. Oh, money is the root of all evil,
But it's the love of money that's the root of all evil.
Exactly.
The Bible talks from Genesis to Revelation about land. God was always this land over here, that land over, I'm gonna give this land, and that land we're gonna take, and this and that. And then when there were wars, they would get the spoils of war. All of it was, in some shape, form, or fashion, was related to money. So whether it was cattle, that has a value, whether it was coins, which is literal money, or gold, because it was things that were made of gold and so forth, all of those things have monetary value. And so God is not afraid of money or us having money. He doesn't want the money to have us. And that's part of the problem. And real estate, everywhere you look is real estate. Planet Earth is real estate. And so as often as I saw in the scriptures that God dealt with real estate constantly, just not in the way that we think of it, but he did. He was always dealing with land and who owned what and borders. And this belongs to these people and not those people. And the tribes had land. Like all of that is real estate.
Wow. That's so good, man. So, scriptures. What is your favorite Bible verse?
Romans 7:21.
Can you quote it off the top of your head?
Oh, the good that I would do. It was Paul talking about basically the temptation that is always there. It says, for the good that I would do, but evil is always present.
Yes.
So, and I say to my husband all the time, there's always two roads. You will always have a choice. And that's part of that.
All right. Favorite books or any books you would recommend for people to read?
So the one I just mentioned about how heaven invades your finances.
Who's the author of that one?
It's in my Kindle. Let me see here. The author is Jim Baker.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a pastor. There's a whole class with it too that we also got, but the book stands on its own. And another book. See, if you're going to work in real estate, you have to understand wealth. So it begins with your own personal wealth. But Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yes.
Is a good one to understand. Robert Kiyosaki?
Yes, Kiyosaki.
How do you pronounce that? Yeah, so that's a good one. And it's very eye-opening as well. And obviously, the Bible. Like right now, I'm really writing in 2 Kings, which 1st and 2 Kings, which makes everything we're looking at right now make a whole lot of sense. There's a lot of connection to what was happening then and what we're looking at right now.
Okay. So I'm a young adult, or I'm just a person, right? and I want to get into real estate. Where do I start?
So it depends. You want to get into real estate as a profession, or you want to get into real estate to invest?
Let's just say to invest.
So buy a home as soon as you can. The earlier, the better. And buy what you can afford. Because people think that they're going to time the market. You're not. You're never going to.
Mm-hmm.
What benefits you is time in the market. So the longer you own a piece of property, the greater the dividends and the more benefits you'll receive.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're young and you don't have a whole lot of money, what you're buying is not your forever home, but it could go from being where you live to a rental that you use, and then there's lots of arms that stretch out from there. But I would say for sure, you don't really want to buy a 1-bedroom. You definitely want to get at least 2, even if there's only 1 bath.
Okay. Now, what about I want to make this my career full time?
So there's a whole process. So depending on what state you're in, you have to follow out that process and then be prayerful about which brokerage to go with.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to understand, first of all, that if you're going to be in real estate as a realtor, you are starting a business. It's not a job, it's a business. And so everything that pertains to having a business is what you're going to need to know, understand, and deal with. And so if you treat it like you're doing it for money, then that's a job. That's a job mentality, and you need to keep working for somebody else. You have to understand that it's a process, and you're not going to step into it and make a whole lot of money right away. And your intention behind it needs to be pure. And I would say, if it's not something God has called you to, mm-hmm. It's not something I'd recommend. Because it's not easy. Yes. It's hard. I love it. It's the best thing I've ever done. I don't recommend it to everybody. Everybody doesn't have the temperance for it, nor the right work ethic, where they care about people.
Yes. All right. What's your favorite song right now? What's on replay?
My favorite song. So I'm a worshiper, and there's a few different things. But my favorite song, actually right now, is by CeCe Winans, and it's not a worship song. It's That's My King.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it.
I mean, it's worship. You're talking about the King,
Well, I'm saying, but I have to watch it when I'm driving because I look up and I'm doing 90 miles an hour because I'm so excited.
So I understand.
Yeah.
I drive with my music too.
Yeah.
If it's an upbeat song,
yeah.
I'm zooming, so I get it. Any other songs that's like your go-to right now?
It really just depends on what I'm looking for in the moment. It shifts.
Yes.
So, and I have different people that I like for different things. So it shifts. That particular song I can listen to all the time from CeCe Winans. But when I'm really looking for worship, it just depends on what my spirit is, what I'm in need of at the moment, or how I'm seeking to worship the Lord.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I appreciate you for coming on and speaking to the people about real estate and even starting your own business in general and the TV show. Where can we all find you on social media?
So my Instagram is Seleka Kerr. I'm the only Seleka. And the same on Facebook, it's Seleka Kerr. I'm on Facebook.
Okay.
Same.
Right.
SELEKAKERR.
And you said you can't think of your YouTube right now, right? It's okay. We'll edit
I'll send it to you.
And we'll be sure to post the YouTube and all of her handles online. And you all be sure to follow her. Thanks again.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. You all have a blessed week and see you next time.